to welcome every. I want to welcome everybody. I'm happy that you made it. I know it's a busy time of year. We have some important topics to address today, and I'm happy that you made it to this peer group. I'm Susan Bangasser. I'm chairing the College University Partnership Program for the state of California, but I have to tell you, I do not know all the answers. As you ask me questions, I make an effort to find the answers, though. So I'm hoping to support you as best as possible. And that is one of the reasons why we'll have a presentation later on tonight about Title IX, because the questions about that. I wanted to, Sigrid is showing us the agenda, and then I want to introduce Sigrid. So after the welcome, we're going to talk about, we called it Planning the Nick Whistle Experience for West Coast Students. There's a lot of topics there. Then Alicia Hetman will talk about Title IX. I'll introduce her later. If we have time, I'll address some of the questions that I am getting through email.
Oh.
I want to remind you, since I see it on the agenda, that when you sign off Zoom, you'll see a survey. And if you don't mind taking a few minutes to answer the questions, we really appreciate your feedback.
It's only 6 questions.
Yeah, it's only 6 questions. The first 2 are easy. There's a couple where you have to kind of maybe, you see one I know you can say yes or no to. And I put some links down there. You've seen them before if you've been on the peer group before. I want to make sure you know how to get to the College University peer group page on our website. And then our sessions are recorded on YouTube. So there's a College University peer group meeting -YouTube. Sigrid will put some of this in the chat. So what I'm going to do is you can go ahead and close the agenda for now, Sigrid, because okay. I didn't introduce you as co-chair of the Branch Development Committee. And I don't know if Becky's here.
She is.
I should watch this live or the recording.
Well, pay attention now, and you can go to the recording later.
Could you
yes, Laura?
Could you please give last names when you say Linda? I'm not sure who you may know or not, and so
okay,
okay, appreciate it.
All right. I don't see Becky here, so let me introduce Fee. Fee is a member of our committee. Oh, there's Becky. Fee is a member of our committee, so welcome, Fee. And now Becky Gomez.
Hey, wait, so can you? I'm sorry, I have hearing aids, so it makes it hard if you just use V or B.
Oh,
P.
it's
P-H-I-E.
Thank you.
P-H-I-E. Fee Day, D-A-I. And then Becky Gomez is also co-chair of the committee. So Becky, why don't you wave at everybody? There's Becky. She's got the Washington Monument and the flag behind her. And then for the rest of the participants, I recommend that you put yourself on mute so that the dog barks or a friend walks in chatting. It doesn't disturb the presentation. And as you have questions, can you put them in the chat? It doesn't mean you don't get to ask questions, but sometimes you hear things and you really want to ask a question. You might forget your question. Put it in the chat. And after our 2 major topics, one we're talking about Nick Whistle. The second major topic will be Title IX. So we'll have questions on each of those topics separately. And then at the end, you could always ask more questions and anything we covered or anything we didn't cover. Okay. To remind you, if you just logged on, there'll be some questions, survey questions at the end. We appreciate your input. One of them has a little bit of a change. So, Sigrid, anything else before we move into the first topic?
Yes, Charmin is here tonight. She is the president of AAUW California.
But
thanks for joining us.
Oh, there's Charmin. Okay, there you are.
Yeah, everyone.
Thank you, Charmin, for joining us.
You're welcome.
All right. So we'll move to the first topic, Nick Whistle. And I'll start out telling you what I thought I was going to tell you today. And what I thought I was going to tell you today still applies. So we have a major change that we just found out today. So Sigrid and I have met with Katrina Sunbreeze, who's on the national, a staff member of the National AAUW, and she works with the college university members. And she didn't organize Nick Whistle, but she certainly was a supporting team member for Nick Whistle. We had asked, along with some members from some other states, for some special adjustments to Nick Whistle that would allow our students to enter the dorms earlier, and to include a tour of Washington, D.C. Those may be extra costs, but if you're sending a student there, I think it's worth it. What I want to do, and this will still apply when I talk about some changes, is that I would like to have a student session, a Zoom session for the students attending Nick Whistle in April. So by then you'll have identified, selected your students going to a leadership conference, and we would have them on a statewide, we might include Oregon because they're interested in this too, but at least a statewide Zoom session where we could talk to them about what to expect, how to prepare. It could be as simple as what to pack, get to the airport 2 hours early. And I say that because one of our students got to the airport a whole half hour before the plane took off. And that's not a likely scenario for a successful trip across the country. And possibly some ideas on how to get the most out of a leadership conference. For example, writing down a highlight from each session, meeting with their peers at dinner and talking about the favorite thing that happened that day. So if you are interested in helping organize an information session for our students, you can put your name in the Zoom and email address. That would help too. It's also a question on the survey, so you'll get hit twice. And if you answered it in the chat, then just say the survey that you already answered. But it would be nice to have other people brainstorm, not just me and my colleague Pam, who's on this. She and I are our branch, our chairs at our branch. Carol, you have your hand raised, but you're muted.
I'm going to be unmuted.
Okay.
I talk a lot, so don't let me.
So and I'm gonna give you 1 minute.
Right,
Yeah.
we people in our branch were unaware that the conference is 1 day long. It takes 1 day to get there, and it takes 1 day to come home. And we spent $1,500 or $1,600 last year. And we talked to the women who were there, and we thought it was pretty flaky.
Okay.
So our branch has said, we're waiting to see what kind of improvements happen. But 1 day conference with 2 days of getting there and getting home seemed to us that there should be something out here that our money would go better if we're really looking for a leadership conference.
Okay, well, your questions will not necessarily be answered today because we will have more questions.
They were not questions. They were statements.
Right.
The analysis that we are making around how we are spending our money. And
so,
this didn't look like high value to us.
Right.
That's
now,
all I'm sharing.
And we concur. I do want to say though that they did have an evening session and a morning session. So it was a little more than a day, but it wasn't enough. I agree. What I want to share with you though is if we're planning to send students to a leadership conference, we probably should have some information session for the students. But I have been harassing Katrina at National about giving me some information about what's happening with Nick Whistle this coming spring 2025. At the meeting Sigrid and I were at, I don't know, like a month or so ago, she said she'd have information for us for the whole of AAUW, not just us personally, by the end of October. And so I sent Katrina one last email this morning saying, do you have anything I can say? Well, she has a lot that she said. And Sigrid, should we share her reply?
Yeah, just give me a second
I'll give you a
to
second. So
find that,
basically,
keep talking.
Nick Whistle is going to be outsourced. So AAUW National is not going to be running it. Another organization with the initials NASPA is going to run it. So this is the email. If you look at the first bullet, I'll read it to you, but you can read too. AUW has been incredibly proud of the impact we have made through Nick Whistle over its nearly 40-year run. However, we have found that the increasing cost of hosting the conference has continued to significantly exceed the income generated by registration fees, scholarship donations, and sponsorships. Despite support we have received from branches, state affiliates, members, and colleges and universities, ultimately the cost has become unsustainable for AAUW. Beginning in 2025, Nick Whistle will be organized and administered by NASPA, Student Affairs Administrators in Higher Education, and AAUW will remain involved in a limited advisory and promotional capacity. AAUW will have a presence at the conference as a speaker, exhibitor, presenter, and promotional supporter. What will change is the administration, financial, and programmatic oversight and planning. The NASPA will be responsible for the planning and execution of the conference moving forward. Registration, as an example, will be made available via NASPA's website and registration platform rather than through AAUW. Currently, dates are being held at the University of Maryland, College Park for Nick Whistle in 2025. While NASPA has not signed a contract with University of Maryland yet, we are confident that they will hold Nick Whistle there next year. We do not know where they plan to hold future Nick Whistle events. As we are not organizing and administering Nick Whistle in 2025, we are not moving forward in the AAUW Women of Distinction Awards ceremony that has traditionally been a component of Nick Whistle. Well, I misread that. But anyway, our understanding is that NASPA will not be continuing the award at Nick Whistle. AAUW national staff is currently exploring options to continue to administer a scholarship for AAUW student members to attend Nick Whistle. We encourage AAUW branches to continue to promote Nick Whistle to college women in your local communities. This terrific program will continue under NASPA's able management. The decision to make this change was carefully considered, and we see many benefits to this new arrangement. NASPA is an organization that plans many conferences and events and is well connected to higher education professionals working directly with college students every day. We look forward to working more closely with NASPA to connect with a wider network of higher education professionals, students, and their member colleges and universities, and share more about AAUW's mission. And I think that's the end, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Sharman put a link to NASPA in the chat, so you can look it up. But Susan and I went there this afternoon to find out what kind of organization they are and the kind of conferences, and they are somewhat aligned with AAUW, and but the size of the conferences that they typically put on are in the thousands. So it's not clear what they plan to do with Nick Whistle, if it's to be sustained at the same format, if it's going to be rolled into one of their existing conferences. None of that is known. This is information we got at 10 o'clock this morning. So we're just scrambling here to get as much to you as we can.
And Sigrid, you can stop sharing now, I think.
Sure.
Okay, so there will be a conference. We don't know exactly when. We don't know how long. It may address some of your concerns about the length. As Sigrid said, I think Katrina said or implied somewhere in there that this organization is comfortable running conferences. And the ones we looked up, like Sigrid said, were really huge. This one doesn't have to be huge. This one could be a smaller one. I don't know. So hopefully we get more information soon so we can promote it because we certainly will need the dates and we'll need to know the cost. And I hope they continue to use the college so that we can have dorm rooms available rather than hotel rooms.
Yeah, that was not clear on their site.
Mm-mm.
They aren't, although they're part of an education organization, they didn't seem to be aligned with any university. So like Nick Whistle's at Maryland, this one was, the next one they're going to have is in New Orleans, and they also move them around the country. So that may solve some of our travel problems if that's what they want to do. But, and the cost for the ones that they have done in the past or that they're registering for right now for 25 is a 4-day session, meeting fees around 600, 650. So comparable to what we're paying for a meeting fee today. But of course, they're spreading their overhead over thousands instead of hundreds. So all of that is yet to be determined.
All right. So we are unsure about the structure of the next Nick Whistle. We'll continue to use the initials Nick Whistle for now as we promote it. I know that we had some feedback about it being short, but the students that we sent there came back with glowing reports of how inspired they were. So I think that that for economic reasons, it'd be nice if they had a longer period of time since we're sending them across the country. But that I think it's a worthwhile enterprise for our college women to go there and hear from the top and be inspired. Now, what I like to do, because it is organize something in April for those students. But to do that, after talking to several of you, and you can, you know, tell me that we need to include more than this. But one thing we would need to have is either on the application for your Nick Whistle students, or once you've selected them, you have them sign a form and have them check off a box that they agree that their name and email address can be sent to California AAUW. And the intention is that we would host an information session prior to their departure so they can be prepared for what to expect and how to make the most of this wonderful opportunity that we're giving them. So don't give up on Nick Whistle. If your branch doesn't sponsor a student to go to Nick Whistle, I think it's worth sponsoring. You will learn more about the costs, et cetera, as the next Nick Whistle event develops. But in the meantime, I still think I'm hoping all of you are promoting it and raising funds to send students there. One of the things we can address sometime are different ways to raise funds to send Nick Whistle students. I also recommend that if you have a college that's a partnership, a college university that's a partner with you, that you select a student from those campuses or that campus to go to Nick Whistle, because that strengthens the meaning of the college university partnership. If one of the benefits is that we select a student to go to a leadership conference. All right, now, I didn't look at the chat. I want to see if there's questions.
Go ahead.
I see some comments. I'm trying to see if let me look.
Right, just about the application process. The application
Oh.
process for Nick Whistle is probably going to be shut down until we have more information and a better sense of how this is going to work. But as Susan said, I think this is a wonderful program if we can maintain it in its format that AAUW has used. This has been 40 years. I didn't realize that.
I didn't realize that either.
And you know, I think it'll turn into something, but I don't know if it'll look and feel the way Nick Whistle has for us in the past.
I had a different interpretation for Deborah's question, Deborah Lerner, than you and Charmin had. I was thinking she meant the Nick Whistle application that the branch gives the students. For example, we have students fill out an application, and then we select from the students. So
Well,
Deborah, was that the question you had?
you're muted. Unmute yourself.
You're muted, Deborah. We can't hear you.
Deborah, you're
Yeah.
muted. There we go.
Okay. Well, we put together an application and I was wondering if there were standards or that, items that people were always including in their applications, but if there is something from the state, I'd love to see it. And then I see that there was something, I guess online under Nick Whistle, although I hadn't seen that, I will check. If there is a, when there's the registration, which is different from the application, I believe.
Yeah, right. So I think my input from feedback I've gotten is every branch has their own version of an application. It might be nice sometime to pick out some samples and see what's good. Our branch keeps it pretty simple. We ask for a resume and we ask for an explanation of what leadership, an essay, what leadership means to you. Then we have people from the university and us get together and read the applications and pick the application. Then we interview the possible applicants.
Yeah, so I'd kind of be interested in what other people are doing in terms of soliciting applicants from the.
So I'm going to put that on my to-do list, and if any of you want to share with me how you select the students to go to Nick Whistle, send it to me, and then I could start sharing ideas about how others do it. And Carol, yes, you're raising your hand, Carol Fletcher.
Well, with all the changes I just heard about, what we've done now seems kind of, don't you think we need to wait till we see, right? I think trying to share what we've done now is premature, right? They are going to set up a conference and it's going to be bigger, I bet, since I know a little bit about the economics of conferences, and they're going to be reaching out to women, hopefully women everywhere, not just AAUW women.
Right.
So I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of, we don't know what to do, so we're going to do that. I think we need to wait until they come back with more details.
Okay.
2 cents.
Good opinion. Let's see. Let's see. Laura Wittenberger, I like your comment about inviting girls who went last year to the panel. That was a good idea. Wittenberg, thank you very much.
So I have a comment.
Yes, Laura.
Yeah, I sent my granddaughter there and we've sent about 5 or 6 girls to Nick Whistle. And, it's been an incredible experience, but I agree with the thought that we're degrading from what AAUW is about when we go into this national. My granddaughter, who was the first one that went through me, she said she'd been to many of these national conferences before. There was nothing like Nick Whistle in her mind, because she met like-minded young women that she just felt like she had found a home. And every girl that we've sent has come back with the same comment. And so I think we're degrading from that. And last spring, in June, St. Mary's College in Moraga, St. Mary's College of California, located in Moraga, California, put on a new leadership program that was started in New Jersey. I can't remember the name of the university at the point. It's been in existence for 15 years. And I'm going to send you the link to the program. And it was an incredible program that was open to 20 girls this past year. That also, it wasn't cheap, but there was a 1-week intensive on campus. And we had people from all over the state that came to not only that to speak, but also to stay with the girls and who were from not for NGOs, from political offices. I mean, it was really an incredible program, and that's something that's in California. It wouldn't cost us a bunch. They are housed on campus.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's something to think about because this was just young women, and their challenge was they had to learn to network. And after 24 hours, they had this very simple dinner that we all that went to, and they recognized donors, and they recognized AAUW for our help. And all I did was help them get names and contacts. But the girls were they were really trying their networking skills and learning to stand up and make it, be seen. On Monday, when I walked in the room, these girls were saying to me, "Oh, come sit with us, come sit with us." But they were very welcoming. They had learned a lot in that weekend, and these girls all joined AAUW at the end of the conference.
Nice, nice.
So I think
Yeah.
that's something
Well,
we
there,
yeah.
so there
I'm not
are,
saying that's the solution,
yeah,
but that was their first year, and they hope to grow the program. And it was started in New Jersey. I can't remember the name. Private university there. I'll find the name. I just can't at the moment think of it. And Boredom, is that where New Jersey? It was from their Women and Gender Studies program that it was created. And it was just an amazing seeing the transformation in these girls. And
well, that sounds,
to be in political offices eventually, but to work in government and changing the world. Our scholarship has always been given on community service.
Right.
all right, thank you, Laura. I think though that that there are other leadership conferences out there, and our organization is working with this one, so we should give them a chance. But certainly, Laura, keep us updated on if they expand this one. Maybe that's an option that we can look at too. And then someone asked, how many applications do you typically get? I can only answer for my branch, but one school we only get, Pam could tell us more about 5, but another one we had about 26, 27 from another college. So so that one, and it all depends how well we get it promoted at the college. If we have someone really helping us get the word out, we get more applicants. All right. So once again, look for more information from National. They're going to be getting this information out to the rest of AAUW soon. Let's give it a chance, and maybe at our next peer group meeting, which isn't scheduled yet, we can look at some options for promoting this conference. And Gail has her hand raised. Yes, Gail.
Yeah, you missed my question. It's right
Oh.
before the last one.
Oh, okay. This will be the
How
first
much?
year for California Online to be hoping to sponsor. I know we don't know yet, but can you give me an amount to shoot for per student? Oh, you're hoping to sponsor a student. I don't know how, Sigrid said $650 seemed to be the registration for this
Right.
past
My branch has been budgeting $1,500 per student for a
Yeah.
number of years. And this
Okay.
past year, we raised it to 2,000, but we cover their airfare and other miscellaneous expenses. We give them some walking around money.
Yeah.
And we pay for the conference. So because
Okay.
airfares have gone up and other things, and we didn't feel that they should be bearing any of the cost, we're at $2,000 a head.
And I would aim for that, because the reason I'm hesitating is we don't know, does this conference include food?
Yeah, this company in what the things we could look at online did not have meals for their event. So that was another thing. We just don't have enough information, but
Yeah.
what we will
Well,
do
I
is,
realize that. I just wanted
Yeah.
2,000 is a good thing to
2,000 is
start
what
with.
we
Okay.
were,
Okay.
yeah.
But that'd be
Now,
great
Thank
to
you.
sponsor one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we will send out a newsletter to everybody before our next session. So as soon as we get any kind of information from National, we'll put together a newsletter and send it to everybody who's on this distribution list and probably put it in the B2B as well. But right now, that's the best we can do.
All right. Let's see. So we will move ahead then if we have any past Nick Whistle, and we'll get to Title IX. And we have Alicia Hetman here tonight to talk to us about Title IX. She's the past president of California AAUW and the former AAUW California Title IX coordinator. And I invited her to talk because we had some questions about scholarships that are designated for women only, and is that okay? Can we offer them? How do we select the students? And even the Nick Whistle stipend is a scholarship. You're giving students money for this event. And so how's that impacted by Title IX? So Alicia, I hope you're ready to hop on.
Now, is my video working?
No,
Not yet.
not yet.
You're getting my voice?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm on a new laptop, so let me open the laptop. You
Ah,
see me?
Ah, there you
we
are.
see
Okay, so
you.
it's not working on my big screen. Okay.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you. I would like to point out, make a few comments before I talk about Title IX. I have been involved with AAUW for 48 years. Of course, I'm only 50 years old now, but anyway, I've been doing this for 48 years. So I know the organization quite well, and I've served at the national level repeatedly through those years. I was the Eleanor Roosevelt Teacher Fellowship Panel Selection Chair a long time ago, and I was the last chair. I think I was there for like 9 years. And what we saw coming through that program, which was an excellent program, it was nationally run by AAUW, for those of you who are new to AAUW, and women teachers from all over the United States applied for money, fellowship money, to run programs. Cut to the chase. I had to make the hard decision at the end to go to the national board to say it's time to stop this program because we were not getting quality applications. Many people, I'm looking at the screen that's not working, sorry. Many people were applying because they wanted the free trip to DC. They wanted stuff for the classrooms, and some were doing it to get it for the men teachers. So there were a lot of problems. So we closed the program and it went away. IRS has very strict rules for organizations, 501c3s and 501c4s, and about how you raise money and donate. And because Nick Whistle is changing out of ownership by AAUW, it may be time for branches to stop participating when it changes until you find out what the IRS rules are, because you have to give the money to an AAUW program for IRS purposes. So it's just you have to be very careful as you move forward on that program since it's changing ownership. I'm not on the current board. I'm very close friends with Melinda Gall, who just went out as board vice chair, and I can ask her how things have changed since I went off as board vice chair under Patricia Ho. But it's something that branches need to pay attention to. And the reason National doesn't have a lot of money is because our membership keeps dwindling. We're losing members in branches right and left. And so they just don't have the money that we used to have when we were such a huge organization. And we need to revitalize our branches, and maybe not raising money, but doing programs for the community that.
Oops, you're frozen.
Yeah, you froze, Alicia.
Teach about equal AAUW future, because we just don't have the money and we're losing members. So I think that's the harsh reality. I just have a screen come up say my internet connection is unstable. Oh, lucky us. Okay, very quickly about Title IX.
Yeah, we know.
Okay, I went to the California Department of Education to develop and implement the Title IX and state regulations for the public schools in California. So I know way more about Title IX and the state laws than most people. And in 2021, January 14th, 2021, the United States Department of Education Office for Civil Rights came out with a new Q&A, questions and answers regarding OCR's interpretation of Title IX and single-sex scholarships, clubs, and other programs. Now, I am at odds with some of what they're saying as what they think is their interpretation, because in Title IX for sports, it very clearly says that it's a three-prong approach, and you have to meet one of the three prongs. And one of them is if you have more opportunities for males than females or vice versa, you're not in compliance with Title IX. So in athletics, it's saying you have to have, if you have 50-50% male and female, let's just make it easy math-wise, then your programs need to be for 50-50 if you want to meet that prong. Well, so that sounds to me that if that's what Title IX meant, why doesn't Title IX say that for outside money for scholarships and fellowships? And so that's where the big question comes up. So with what they're saying in 2021, it's not going to help AAUW branches. I think it's a lawsuit that could happen, but we don't have the money to file lawsuits, do we? So I don't think that we're going to be able to pull this off, but I want to tell you what OCR's interpretation, Office for Civil Rights interpretation of Title IX on this question is, okay? So it says, may a school advertise or promote third-party scholarships, fellowships, or other forms of financial assistance to its students if those scholarships impose a preference or restriction for students of one sex. And I apologize for not having this on the screen, but I didn't find my document until late last night, and I've been gone all day dealing with family issues. The answer is generally no. Under Title IX, a recipient is prohibited from advertising or promoting, including by listing on the recipient's website or by any other means, any scholarship, fellowship, or other form of financial assistance like scholarships that discriminates on the basis of sex, even when the scholarship is administered by a third party and not by or on behalf of the recipient. Additionally, as to any third-party scholarship that the school does promote or advertise, OCR expects the schools to take reasonable steps, or in fact, reasonable steps to verify that the sponsoring organization, that'd be AAUW, or person's rules for determining award do not expressly or in fact discriminate on the basis of sex. So when we started Tech Trek, Speech Trek, they came to me about Title IX, and I said, you're walking on water here because you cannot say it's only for girls to be in Speech Trek. So you have to pick topics that will be more interesting to the girls in high school to talk about. And you see what has happened through the years. Boys are applying and boys are winning sometimes. So we've already lost that battle with Speech Trek. Tech Trek, there have been lawsuits about it because male students are not allowed to go because it's a sleepaway camp. And we've been able to get out of those, but there is a possibility that there could be lawsuits with that as well. So when we're looking at AAUW branches who are raising money to give to students when they graduate high school or in college, and we say it's for women's studies, that might be okay if men who are taking women's studies are also can have the award. My big issue is, I'm going to stay with high schools because it's a little more simplistic. High school seniors, there's always award ceremony at the end of the school year, correct? In all the high schools. And so a lot of organizations come together and they put their money out there. Okay. So Title IX came along, and then when new money came available for different fellowships, scholarships, did anybody in those schools look to see if there was a balance? Or did most of the money go to males and not to females? Did any school ever look at the balance? So the only thing I can recommend to AAUW is if you still want to do this, then you need to go to your local school districts or college and university and find out if they did a study, or look at the past 5 years and see how the awards are given out. How much money went to boys versus girls, that kind of thing. It sounds like a lot of work, a lot of legal things. And so it's beginning to look like with this OCR patient, we have been out of whack with what they have been proposing for quite some time. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm reading straight from the paper for you to say there may be some problems here. It says OCR has accordingly resolved claims against schools that have listed on school websites the following scholarship that apply a sex-based preference or restriction to awardees by dismissing the complaints after the schools remove the sex-restrictive scholarships from school websites. So I know there's going to be questions and that, so I think I should stop reading to you what it says and see what your questions are. But basically, I personally think it's time for branches to really reconsider how they're operating. Fundraising should not be our first top priority. Our top priority should be the mission and vision of getting the word out about equal rights for women and girls. And how can we do that in a different way than providing monies to high school students, junior high students, college students? How do we do that differently as we move forward in AAUW California?
I wanted to make one statement before we open to questions, and that is, if you're looking at colleges, that more women are going to college now than men. And so at my local community college, I talked to the foundation director. I mean, the scholarships there are for men or women, and they're not picking them on the basis of sex. But since most people going to college are women, then chances are more women are getting a scholarship than men.
Right, but it's still not necessarily going to work for the money that
Right.
we're giving.
Right. Okay. And now so I wanted to look first at the chat, then I saw someone raise their hand. Can't the definition of the scholarship, like wanting single parents to apply, tend to attract more women?
I only read you one part of the question.
Toby, could you put yourself on mute? I'll mute you. Okay, go ahead.
There's a number of questions in here, and one of them is about if it's named, let's say it's the Susan B. Anthony Foundation, blah, 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 blah. If the name makes it look like it doesn't work, or women's studies, or, so there are restrictions in even how things are named in this 2021 report.
Mm.
And so it's really important that we all try to understand, we don't want to put AAUW in trouble. We don't want branches. I was on the board when we had the New York branch out of business. They're the first branch of AAUW. We had to put them out of business because of the work they were doing that was in violation of IRS. I don't want that to happen to any California branches. It was a horrible situation. So we really have to pay attention to what IRS has to say and what Title IX has to say.
Okay, then
Could you guys use your
Yeah.
your raise your hand icon?
If you go
Because
under
we're getting a lot of under reactions, because they're getting a lot of background noise and people talking over each other. So when you use that, you pop to the front of the screen and we can call on you.
right, because it's
Thanks.
hard to see who's raising their hand.
Right.
But
But
I do.
you will pop to the front of the line here. Just use your raise your hand, please.
And Deborah has been raising her hand. So Deborah Lerner, let me just call on you instead of having you hunt for that icon.
Yeah, so my question was, if you word the scholarship requirements like single parent experience or something that's that would tend to attract a woman respondent.
And Deborah, that is one of the things that is in here. You can't say single mother, you can say single parent.
Single parent, right?
Yes,
exactly.
so you said the right word, and it could be a single parent, but you can't say single mother.
Right. I get it. Yeah. So
along those lines. I mean, there might be
Mhm.
other ways of
Yeah,
approaching.
you
it,
have
but
to
a single
massage the
parent
language
is what I
or
try.
what school you're going to apply it to. It could be the School of Education in STEM or something like that. You know, so it's just getting very complicated.
Mhm.
And you know, it took 4 years and we still did not correct what the previous administration did to destroy Title IX for sexual harassment because they added in other categories. And if President Biden and his team had just gone to fix what she did, we would have had that done and then put the second layer on with all the new language, it would have been okay. I am devastated that it's been more than 4 years and we still are not taking care of sexual harassment. And I've been involved with some young women in colleges, helping them find the proper attorneys to help them because schools are not doing that correctly at all, still to this day. So there's still a lot of issues. Schools have never, ever adhered to Title IX because they don't lose money over it. And so when I was out doing the compliance reviews, you know, they weren't scared. They were upset that they were marked non-compliant, but they weren't going to lose a dime over it. And I'd be willing to bet that many of the ones that were in major trouble have reverted back because when you change employees and they're not teaching about Title IX, they're not teaching our California laws that are even more stringent. At least they were when I left the Department of Ed. I don't know if they still are. And we are fighting a battle against major corporations that is going to really be really hard for us as a nonprofit organization to fight these battles.
Carol has her hand raised, Susan.
Yeah. Carol Pletcher.
So I'm here along the coast. I'm in the Del Mar Leucadia branch. And the college that we have begun to make a partnership is, you can tell I'm not native, San Marcos State University. And so, you know, I'm listening to all this discussion, and so we went to visit them. And we said, hey, look at the problem we have. And they said, hey, in case you're wondering, it's a problem for us too. So the first thing is to have a little, for us, it was to have an understanding that they are sitting there and people are trying to give them money and they have to say, no, we can't take it. No, we can't. And then the woman who did scholarships and financial aid said, but this is what we can do. And so we have been able, because of a very generous, not our donor, but someone else, there's matching money for scholarships at San Marcos, but they helped us put together something that they could use to help us achieve. Does that mean they're all going to be women? No. Does that mean that we have now, instead of no kids getting scholarships, 14 kids getting scholarships? So the other part is that we also were having this discussion that we're having here, and we said, okay, we can keep doing this, or we can work with San Marcos and see if 10 or 11 of the people who get our scholarships are women. So our experience with San Marcos is that they feel the bind and they are trying very hard. And they are not ignoring Title IX in this area. And so I just would say that everybody is in the same boat, and our goal was to give away 14 scholarships, and we worked hard to make that happen. The good news.
I had a question too, and so I don't see any other hands raised at the moment. So let's say you have a scholarship that says for single parent, and it's the AAUW group that's selecting the recipients, not the college, and you have some males and some females. It's okay to pick the female because
Only if you didn't use any prejudice to do that.
right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You still want to be very careful. In Maui, the Maui branch for years was doing it, and then the college made them switch over, and they have no say in who's getting the money. And I have to keep, and that's one of my branches that I belong to. I have to keep telling them, this is not appropriate. If you don't have any say in who's getting the money, and it's at a 2-year college, So the new president is re-looking at what they're doing on Maui of how to help in a different way. So every school is going to be different, and the schools want the money. They violate PE, and they violate sexual harassment, and they violate athletics all the time. They want the money for finance, so they're going to be pretty good about taking the money for that. But when you look at the totality of everything that's happening, they are not following Title IX, because there should be no discrimination in any way on the schools and the college campuses, and it's still happening. So, money.
Okay. So Sigrid, you have your hand raised, and then there's also some questions in the chat.
Okay.
It's the crux of the whole thing. So they will pay attention if they can get money.
Right. Okay.
Are there more questions?
I had a comment here for everybody. The IRS guidelines for collecting donations and using the donations for scholarships are available on the AUW California website. You go to branch tools, and down at the bottom is a box that says fundraising guidelines. And there are two documents in there. Document 502, which is the absolute Bible for how you handle donations and how you can give away scholarships. And in that document, they're pretty clear about who gets to choose. And you get to pick a category, but we can't be directly involved in the absolute selection. It has to be through the school. So read that before you go back to your branches and start talking about which ways do we need to go. And whoever suggested talking to the school, that's just genius, because my branch used to give scholarships at UC Irvine, and we got kicked out for the Title IX issue because we kept saying women's scholarships. Now we're going back in and we're targeting a specific school, the School of Public Health, which happens to have 70% women enrolled and happens to have mostly women who are coming back from interrupting their education, which was another criteria we could set. We didn't have to say women, we just had to say people who had to interrupt their education for some reason. So talk to the school. They have great ideas about how to manage this situation.
So in the comments I want to read some comments just for the sake of recording, because one says our branch gives scholarships for returning students, which Sigrid just said, which tend to be women. But then there's a question: can branches still have women-only scholarships and promote them through other vehicles than college websites for third-party scholarships?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I just thought of something. Maybe you could do it through the sororities. Keep it out of the school. But then I don't know how you deal with our IRS.
Okay. Sigrid, you raise your hand. Yes.
Yeah. The sorority thing, forget it. I'm the president of my local sorority alumni. We have exactly the same issue, exactly the same school, UC Irvine. So we tend to do these as gifts to the members to pay their dues or what have you, but we don't have a competition that's open to all students. We can't.
Yeah, see, the whole thing is very complicated. It's just really hard to give money away unless you give it to me.
No questions asked. Now, there's one question here that's about Tech Trek. Is there a concern regarding our Tech Trek camp program as well, based on targeting only 13-year-old girls for the program?
The only lawsuits I know about, there were some parents that came in and threatened a lawsuit because their male child couldn't go. Just before I went out of office, a week before I was out of office, we had a lawsuit over ADA with a female student. That one we did have to settle, but there have been questions raised about that. Just going back to another thing that we got involved with was take our daughter to work day. Well, the men wanted to be involved, but they didn't want to do the work. So all of a sudden it became taking my children to work day. So that all got switched. And that was not anything that should have needed to be switched because there was no money involved with that. So our society has changed. And next week, who knows what's going to happen. So, it's really time, I think, for branches to kind of reflect on what works for them. If they're putting so much time and energy into raising money that they don't have the energy to do anything else to move our mission forward, our vision forward, then why they're losing members, that they get worn out. I know a lot of branches are having trouble finding board members. How do we turn it around so that branches can thrive again? I've been talking about this for years. AAUW, I have a legacy with AAUW of the work that I've done with Title IX and gender equity. Where's my vision going to go? Who's going to take over my legacy? And I think we all have to think about what's the legacy of our branches? How do we keep our branches whole so that they don't go away? Because we're losing more and more members and losing more and more branches. National staff is a lot smaller, so we don't get the same kind of help from the staff that we used to. And I think that's why Nick Whistle's being offloaded as well, is we don't have the staff to do the work.
No.
And so I think that we need to take a step back, maybe a year back from Nick Whistle, perhaps, to see how it plays out, to see if it's worth the time for branches to put the time and effort into the fundraising and getting those females to Nick Whistle, especially if it's only one day. It used to be much longer than that. Yeah, it's just crazy. So, we're hitting our heads against too many walls, I think, as branch members.
Susan, there was a question in here about, will this conversation be available? We're recording this program and it will be posted under the peer group site on the branch tools in a couple of days. I just got a text from Toby Ballmer. She's on her phone and she can't use the raise your hand thing. So could you call on her, Susan?
Can
Okay.
you hear me? Can you hear me?
Toby. Yeah, we can hear you, Toby.
Okay. I'm speaking from the Long Beach branch. One of our members is an attorney. And in the presentation that she gave, as far as scholarships are concerned, and Title IX, that if it is to women in underrepresented fields, that it was okay. Do you want to comment on that, Doug?
Yeah, that's not what this OCR document says.
No.
Okay.
I mean, what I can do is, Susan, this is January 14th, 2021. And it's a Q&A regarding OCR's interpretation of Title IX. If you or somebody could Google it and get that information, Susan, you know what's going on in my life. That's why I'm not volunteering to do it.
Right. Okay.
And then get it out to the participants. That would be very helpful. If you need me to give you more guidance on how to get to it, but I just don't have the time to do it this month.
So what does OCR stand for?
It's for civil rights.
No, the name of it. What does it? What do those letters?
Organization.
It stands for Office.
Office.
Civil Rights. Office for Civil Rights. OCR. Office for Civil Rights.
Is that a state or federal office?
Federal. It's
Okay.
the United States Department of Education Office for Civil Rights.
Oh, that helps. Okay.
It's their interpretation based on their attorneys. I'm a practitioner. I went out and did the reviews to the school districts. I went out and reviewed all of the items that they needed to be compliant in. So I think I know more than some attorneys on this because I was actually at the schools. I actually looked at the sports rosters and everything and looked at all the scholarships. And I did all these comparisons back in the day when I was doing that job. So my perspective is very different than attorneys who are very much just reading the words of the law.
And then I wanted to comment on something in the chat. Carol Pletcher, you asked what is the website with all the information? Are you referring to the one that Sigrid said how to go look up? Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
maybe.
I'll post it again. I posted it earlier, but I'll
Yeah.
post it again. There was also a question in here on the topic of IRS guidelines on donations. Can branches use donations to sponsor local students to non-AUW events? And can branches hold fundraisers to raise money for non-AUW programs? And thank you, Charmin, for answering that. No and no.
It's got to be AAUW or you're in violation.
Okay, so you said this already, but I'm pretty sure my brain did not absorb it correctly. So when Nick Whistle is being offered by a non-AAUW company or whatever you call it, and we have money raised for leadership, we could still use it even though it's not AAUW, but it's AAUW endorsed.
That's a tricky
Charmin,
one.
you want to speak up here?
I think the caveat would be how is AUW's involvement? Are they just a presenter? Are they going to be kind of a co-sponsor? I
Yeah.
think we need to wait to hear from the office to see what the actual involvement for AEW is going to be to make a determination on that, because I think it's really iffy.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's right.
that's
Right.
definitely an issue around, because Katrina's statement said we're going to be a presenter and we might
Yeah.
be a co-sponsor, but I don't know how
Yeah.
big that is. And, you know, they should have thought of that, you know, before
Yeah,
they
they
made
should
these
have.
arrangements.
That's why I'm thinking we need to step back for a year and
Okay. Alicia, since your internet is iffy, you did freeze. We didn't hear the end of
see
your
how it
sentence.
plays out.
Oh, can you repeat that, Alicia? Because you're.
Uh-oh, I think my computer just. I think it would, yeah, my computer. I'm sorry, I live in a backwards town and our internet is bad. I think it would be wise for branches to step back for a year on Nick Whistle and see how this plays out. I'm not saying you don't raise the money, but you have to meet the donor's intent. And if the intent is that Nick Whistle's an AAUW program and it's changing to a not AAUW program, how are you meeting the donor's intent? And you're supposed to
we
use
don't
it
know
in the
yet.
same money they donate. You're not supposed to hold it over. So it just gets very complicated. So I just think that, you know, Charbon, it'll be up to you as president, but I think you really might want to think about asking branches to hold off for a year while you see how things play out, just to protect everybody, protect the branches.
But a lot of our fundraisers are like selling, you know, quilts and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we're not getting a donation that says we only want it to go to AAUW's Nick Whistle program.
Well, it depends on how you advertise your fundraiser too.
Yeah. So it's fundraisers for the AAUW mission is basically what it's for.
Yeah. So if it's going to outside AAUW mission, then it's not going to AAUW mission.
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
So I have a question. I thought you said then go ahead and continue to do fundraising, but why would you do that? And then you've got money that was earmarked for Nick Whistle, which you can't use.
Yeah, I didn't say fundraise for Nick Whistle. I just said you could continue fundraising, but you could fundraise just for your branch for most greatest need or something like that for the branch, and then the branch could go together and vote to move it later. I mean, it just, the whole thing is just a mess. When there's a transition like this, it becomes very muddled. So there's no good way out of it except to stop for a year.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
the easiest, safest way out.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to send students because I want to see what it's like. So
yeah,
I think,
but if it's only a day long, it's not going to measure up to what it used to be.
But we don't know what the new one will be like. So
yeah.
All right. Well, that was a hot topic.
If I could have just a few minutes of personal privilege, could I talk about something that's appropriate?
Okay.
In 2009, Lisa Matz, who was our public policy director, got very involved with Lily Ledbetter and took her around to negotiate for the bill to get passed. So Lily Ledbetter's been a big part of AAUW since 2009.
We will wait patiently for Wi-Fi.
Breaking through the glass ceiling brooch. I asked Lisa, could I have the mic? And I gifted Lily my breaking through the glass ceiling brooch that night. And as I was sitting at the table at dinner, Lily was at the next table and she kept putting her hand on it. That brooch meant so much to her. It was so important to her. And she put it on her special shelf at home next to the pen that President Obama used to sign the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act.
Nice.
20 days after he became, well, in 2010, I talked to the national board because I was on the board. I said, we should do a scholarship, you know, not a scholarship. We should raise money in Lily's name. And so we did a Lily Ledbetter impact grant. We raised $50,000. Is my camera showing? We raised
Yes.
$50,000. And in this picture, it's really dark. Lisa Matz, Connie Hildebrand, another board member, and myself
Raise it higher.
presented to Lily a plaque with all the names of people or branches that gave $500 or more and a picture of Lily and the president. So that's how my relationship with Lily started. I last talked to Lily September 18th this year. I've known for a long time about her health issues because we're very close friends. She joked that we were like sisters. I'm asking you all to please, if you haven't already, buy Lily's book, Grace and Grit. It's her biography. In the back of this book, and it also is in paperback now, are the laws that apply to equal pay for women. We need the Paycheck Fairness Act before we can resolve this issue. Lily worked for almost 20 years at Goodyear Tire and Rubber in Gadsden, Alabama, and found out by an anonymous note in her box that she was being paid 40% less than the men doing the exact same job. She gave up her life at Goodyear Tire and Rubber because I truly believe that's what caused her problems that made her die at the age of 86. And so it's really a personal plea for me to keep her legacy alive. I talked to young women. I talked to 4 of them today, 2 at each bank, and told them the story and told them how important it is for them to fight for their right for equal pay. Lauren Mancuso is one of the LAF recipients from the UC Davis wrestling trial a number of years ago. And I introduced Lauren to Lily at the National Convention in Louisiana. And we sat together and talked privately, the 3 of us. And then Lauren was out on an oil rig for her job, reading the book, and she came back and fought for parity. I am asking each and every one of you to please step up and get loud and talk about equal pay. We need to honor Lily's memory. I am going on Saturday to Denver. The movie about her life, which was a 16-year project by Rachel Feldman, who's the director and producer. Patricia Clarkson is the actress. She's an award-winning actress who plays Lily in this. The premiere of this movie was shown at the Hampton Film Festival. Lily's family went on Saturday in Colorado, in Denver, and I will be presenting on behalf of Lily and myself, because Lily and I planned this together, to give both Rachel and Patricia Clarkson their very own Breaking Through the Glass Ceiling brooches. It's important that AAUW takes hold of her memory and keeps her legacy alive. So I ask you all, please join me and Lisa Matz in our quest to keep Lily's legacy moving forward. I'm hoping that the movie's going to be shown in California as soon as I get to California. I'll let you all know.
Yeah, let us know when it'll be out.
I'll let Charmin know as president. I'll let her know, and let's get the word out. we need to support this mission for equal pay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And speaking of equal pay, we will move on just to the closing things. The national toolkit has the WEII attachment for students that shows them the QR code where they can register for those financial workshops such as money management and Start Smart. We put the link to it in the chat, so you might have to go through and copy and paste that. But if you can't find it, it is on our state website. We have links to it there, or you can email me and I'll send it to you directly. Also, some questions that I get include things like questions about the billing. We've talked about it in previous peer group meetings, but the bill for your college university member goes to the office that paid it the last time. My concern is that they ignore it, or it's a new person in that office and they don't know why they got this invoice. The office that receives the invoice is the office that can change the name of your campus rep. If you're in touch with your campus rep, which I hope you are, you might remind them to check and make sure that the invoice was recognized and paid, so the college university can pay the membership and still be part of our partner group. Let's see, another question that came up in an email was about 1099 forms. And that's more of a question for your financial planner, and Sigrid on the information on finance, it'll be there. But you do have to give anybody you're giving more than $600 to, you do have to provide a 1099 form for them. But there is something that I don't know the answer to, because our financial person told me, and I can't remember what it's called, but you experienced people like Sigrid and Sherman will know something about if you have more than 10, you have to have it done through someone who has a special account. And then you might have to pay someone to do your 1099 forms if you have more than 10 recipients, like including your Tech Trek, your Nick Whistle, and your scholarship recipients. But all of that was explained in the financial management portion peer group at AAUW. So you don't have to worry about it, but your financial person needs to think about it. Were there any, Sigrid, yes.
Yeah, what Susan is referring to is a peer group meeting for finance on October 1st. And they went through all of the forms and who has to fill them out and for what.
Yeah.
And basically, if you're giving scholarships and you're writing the checks from your branch or your foundation to the school, and a lot of schools have a foundation or a recipient account, and you're just making it out to Estancia High School, then it's one 501c3 to another 501c3, and there's no requirement for a 1099 because there's no one to give it to. The school itself does whatever they're going to do, and it's out of our hands. If you're writing checks directly to individuals, like some branches have done for Nick Whistle, that's a different story. Then you do need to do a 1099, but always go to the website, look at the fundraising guidelines from the IRS, and also at the finance section on how to do this, and tell your treasurers to watch the October 1st webinar if they were not able to attend it. It answers every one of those questions. Because I talked to our CFO, Kathy Ford, and that was her recommendation for everyone to become knowledgeable on when and where, because we're getting millions of questions about the 1099 issue.
And thank you for explaining that much better than I did. Thank you, Sigrid. And Sharman, thank you for putting in the link to the recording. So this session is recorded. It'll show up in a couple of days, so not right away, but there's the link in the chat if you'd like to copy and paste it. All right. And any other comments before we end the meeting?
I think we got all the questions.
I think we did.
Oh, somebody wanted to know, how do we get the contact information on the attendees of this meeting, the branch and their roles? We collect the people who register. And when you get to the end of this, please answer the survey. And in that survey, it'll ask you for your name and your branch. And we can share that information once it's collected. We can give you the distribution list for the whole group, but I'm not sure that's going to solve whatever problem you have. But if you're looking for an individual or a certain branch, contact Susan or me or Becky, and we'll get back to you.
Okay. And remember, when we say goodbye and good night, you'll be asked those survey questions, and one of them does ask if you'd like to help plan the Nick Whistle event for students. That means a Zoom session where we talk about traveling. We'll see what we're doing, so you can give me your name and email address tentatively. But and we'll look for the updates on the new leadership program that hopefully is as wonderful as Nick Whistle was in the past. Any other closing comments? Nope. Oh, okay. And the film is called Lily. Charmin said, so we'll look for that film, and they'll keep us posted on if it's coming to California. So thank you all. Thank you for all being here. Good night, everybody.
Recording.
So I want to keep the chat. I copied and pasted it, but I think at the very end it says, you want to keep the chat. Try to find that